next step is I'm going to go ahead and apply some yellow. I like to use yellow to be able to blend all of the different colors together. The purple and the brown blends very well with yellow. I use the yellow to highlight a lot of the cheekbones, the foreheads, and sometimes also around the edges. It's important to use a soft burst of air on your airbrush to avoid overpowering the design. Yellow brings out the light and the movement of the piece. It enhances the form and makes the design feel alive. Next step, I'm going to add red for warm contrast. I spray red to introduce the warmth and the energy. I blend it into the mid-tones and I use it to accent backgrounds, elements, and key shapes. Red adds emotion, power, and heat to the design. It's the pulse that balances out the other cooler tones. Next step, we're going to add tribal shapes and abstract backgrounds. I use black to paint the tribal shapes or patterns. Freehand, or you can use a stencil. Place them strategically in the background to support the mask. These symbols represent culture, history, and rhythm. They root your artwork into something timeless and give it identity. While creating these tribal designs, I dig deep within inside of myself, letting loose and allowing the creativity to flow. The airbrush becomes an extension of my hand as I am formally creating these elements that represent science, technology, culture, faith, and momentum. These are tools and keys that I add into my art to make them unique in my own style. back in with my black to bring out some definition and to focus in on the small details. It's important not to overdo it. Black can make your work look real muddy and dark, so take your time, make sure that your airbrush is working correctly, and make sure that the lines are clean and sharp. Go ahead and take some light blue, thin it down with a little distilled water to make it transparent, and the final cool fade with the light blue is one of the things I'm looking forward to. I finished by blending the light blue into transitional zones. I use the blue around the edges or fading out shapes. This ties all of the colors together and gives the final artwork a flow and harmony. It's the polish that completes the piece and adds a little definition and pop to the artwork. Okay guys, we have all of our colors laid in. We have the white base that we laid down. We have the black outline that we put down. We have the black shading to get some perspective. We put blue down. We have the light blue transparent fade in there. We also have the brown that we use on the mask. We have the purple that we faded in there. And then over top of everything is that yellow, without forgetting that red. Through those tribal shapes in the background to kind of give it some definition. And hey guys, I love the front. Now let's go ahead and get going on the back. Okay, so we got the back, making sure my shirt is nice and tight. The design concept that I want to do is something that's going to make the eyes move around, with also giving a nice proportion on the back, a nice design that's very simple but at the same time abstract, different, and brings out the whole artwork piece on the t-shirt. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with a triangle. I like that definition and just trying to make sure everything is balanced on the right and the left side of the shirt. The back of the shirt is something that is important to me. This is something that I like to kind of do to just kind of make the full piece feel like a full masterpiece. So I'm going to do the back, I'm going to do the sleeves, and bring everything together to unify this piece as one. guys. So now I'm going to use this time to go ahead and add some small details. This is a fun time for me where I can just kind of get loose, not have to think about anything serious, but just be able to have fun with it. So I'm going to go ahead and add some details. I went ahead and did some drop shadowing. Airbrushing is one of those things that can just kind of take your time away, and you can just fall deeply into the art. So I'm enjoying this process, enjoy creating this whole masterpiece with you guys. Thank you. Make sure that you like, subscribe, make sure that you share any of the videos that you see. Definitely, if you have any comments or have any questions, go ahead and put some comments in there or questions, and I'll try to do the best to be able to help you guys out on your airbrush journey. Thank you again, and signing out. See you guys on the next one. Peace and blessings.